You are listening to How to Get Over Your Ex, episode number 237. Which life path do I live now? Welcome to How to Get Over Your Ex, a podcast on getting over your ex without it just taking time. I'm your host, Breakup Coach Dorothy. Let's turn your pain into power and your heartbreak into happy. Welcome, Braveheart. I'm so excited you're here to listen to the How to Get Over Your Ex podcast. This is the Netflix of breakups, short, powerful, and actionable episodes that help you along your breakup journey. If you're interested in a more hands-on approach, I'd love to invite you to check out our free on-demand video training called How to Fast Forward Getting Over Your Ex Without Wasting Months or Years Feeling Jealous, Angry, or Unlovable. You'll learn how to stop letting your ex live rent-free in your mind, even if you want to get back together later, how to absolutely be sure that your life will be better than the one that you had with your ex post-breakup without it taking time, and lastly, the secret to feeling completely neutral about your ex without having to go no contact. Grab it for free at breakupcoachdorothy.com. Let's begin the episode. Hello, beautiful Bravehearts. How are you doing? I hope you're doing amazing today. So the day that this episode airs will be the Monday before my 34th birthday. I have a birthday on May 3rd, which is Friday this year, and it literally blows my mind that I'm turning 34. I still don't feel like a quote unquote adult. I'm not quite sure when I left my 20s and how I'm already almost halfway through my 30s. Between 30 and now, it's just flown by. It's absolutely wild. And I remember I used to say your 30s are like your 20s, just with money. And I feel like it's been a fun time, my 30s so far. So as I'm approaching 34, my best friend Danica and I were talking about all these lifetimes that we've lived. We feel like we've lived so many lives within just 34 years. We're still so young, but we've lived like a ridiculous amount of different lives. And last week I had someone ask me about my modeling career, which feels like forever ago and feels like a completely different lifetime. And then I also had a Braveheart inside of the Get Over Your Ex program who was getting coached on a decision she's trying to make about moving to 2 different places. And she's like, they seem like completely different lives, and here are the pros and cons of each, and how do I decide on one? And it really reminded me of being almost in paralysis before around what kind of life path do I choose, because there's so many we can choose from. And because there's so many options, I felt like I was frozen and indecision for a while. And it got me also just kind of thinking about how many lifetimes do people live? And does everyone feel like me? Like where it feels like you've lived a lot of lifetimes, or are there some of you who don't feel like you've lived a lot of lifetimes? Because I guess from the outside, there are some people that I see from the outside looking in, like perhaps people from my hometown who have stayed there their whole life and followed a more, what I would call a traditional path. And so from my point of view, it doesn't look like they've lived multiple lifetimes, but that's not to say that they don't feel like they've lived multiple lifetimes, right? Like they have their life before kids, and then they have life with this job or, this other job that's a remote job or something like that. So it's like, I'm really curious about, and I wonder if we all feel like we've lived multiple lifetimes yet, or do some of you feel like you've lived the same lifetime for a really long time? And does that feel good to you, or does it feel not good to you? Because of course, there's no right or wrong or good or bad answer here. It's just something that I've been contemplating a lot about, because I just work in an industry and work with so many human beings who are reinventing themselves. And some of them are coming from 34-year-long marriages, and some of them are coming from their first relationship, right? And everything in between. So it's just very interesting. There are so many lives that you can live, and there are so many options out there. How do we, one, get clear about the life that you want to live? perhaps when you've been living someone else's life for a really long time. And two, how do you make a choice? Like, how do you start that adventure? How do you get out of the paralysis and the indecision to choose one and go for it? So I really want to talk about that today. Now, getting clear about what you want after a breakup in terms of the life path you want to go, it first starts with building a relationship with yourself, period. I cannot emphasize that enough. There is no way you can figure out what your bigger and better life is if you're busy beating yourself up, if you are berating yourself, if you don't like yourself, if you're getting angry with yourself for past decisions. I have so many episodes that are focused on building and cultivating that relationship with you. So if that's where you are, totally understandable. You can listen to the rest of this episode, but know that that's going to be your first step. It's actually the second pillar within the Get Over Your Ex framework. So it's such a foundational piece because you've got to like yourself before we can decide what is an authentic desire to you. Now, once you've cleaned that up, I kind of see 6 ways to explore what your bigger and better life might look like, might be. And I'll talk about all of them briefly here. I do a more in-depth presentation or workshop inside of the Get Over Your Ex program if you're interested. But let's talk about them here. So the first one is your past. Like, what do you still love about your past? What are the components that you feel like are the most aligned for you as you've built this new relationship with yourself, right? And again, that's why it's so important. You can't even look at what you love about your past when you hate yourself. And so for me, I just remember something that I really loved about myself even out of the big breakup that catapulted everything for me I loved how not outgoing I was, but how much I loved to push the boundary, go after big things, have these amazing epic dreams. And that was seen in my relationships as unrealistic in a lot of ways, dreaming too big. It was just like a lot of too much, too big for me energy coming from my relationship in the past, like from my ex. And so when I got out of that, something that I realized that I still really love about my past is going big and going after things that really felt like obnoxious almost is maybe a word I'd use. The second thing you can do is look at your portal of possibility. I talk about this in other episodes, but I used my ex as a portal of possibility. He showed me a lifestyle that I really wasn't familiar with, and that was something I really wanted, no matter if he was in my life or not. And so what was interesting is after that breakup, I really started to pursue that lifestyle. And as I pursued that without my ex, I was actually exposed to bigger and better lifestyles that I now then had the permission to go after because it wasn't too big. It wasn't too much because I wasn't with someone who was living in a little bit smaller of a world and liked that world. There was nothing wrong with that world. It was just he didn't want that, right? So what did your ex show you was possible that you love the idea of? Are there any other portals that have been opened for you, whether that's celebrities, coaches, influencers? Is there anyone you're envious of? And I feel like that's a great sign to look at. If you're envious of someone, why? What is it that they have that you wish you had? And use that as a portal of possibility of what's available to you, right? What might be triggered within you that feels that that's not available to you? The third thing that I like to talk about in terms of kind of exploring what life path you might want to choose is a tool called the Life Wheel. This is very known. This is not something new. It's not something that I created, but this is a tool where you rate different areas of your life between 0 and 10, and then you can see which area is the most kind of out of balance. And from that place, you can choose 3-ish categories to begin your work in. And I really love this tool. I think it's interesting to use the tool over periods of time. I like to look at it, here's where I'm at today. Here's where I feel like I was at 6 months ago. And here's where I'd like to go 6 months from now. And you can literally just Google the Life Wheel. And so many people are selling that you can totally find ways to do that. Another thing that I think is so important but underrated is trial and error which I call data collection. Trial and error can seem exhausting to some, so I like to use the word I'm collecting data, and that feels just more scientific and intentional to me. So that just really means trying on things until you see what fits and you see what feels right. Just like we would go to a store, right? We would try on multiple clothes, you try on multiple sizes. Maybe you're like, this one fits, but I don't really like the color, or I don't like the way it lays on my butt, right? We've got to try things on. I love trying things on to see if it fits, to see if it feels right. And I think we underrate that. We feel like we have to make a decision and that decision has to last forever. And I really am of the belief of like, let's just try that on and see if we actually even like it. Try the car on before you buy it, right? Try the recipe to see if you even like it. Try becoming a cook, see if you like it, right? And I think as children, we're urged to do that. And then as we grow up, it feels like maybe we should know better. We should know exactly what we want by now. And why don't we know? And so then we stop even trying. And personally, I've tried so many things on that I eventually decided weren't for me. I think of my data analytics career, consulting, the weird little modeling stint that I went through. I had a fitness YouTube channel that I didn't end up following through on. And so I don't know, it's just really interesting because each of those versions, I saw myself living in that. Like I remember seeing a vision of myself in a business suit, in a skyscraper, running numbers, loving stats. And it wasn't that it wasn't like good or that it was bad. I just didn't realize there was something even better and even more aligned, even more suited for myself, which is coaching. And so I love coaching and I think I'm going to do it for the rest of my life, but who knows that if maybe something else comes along and I actually like that even more. And sometimes you try things on for a while and you love it, and sometimes you don't, but it's just a season. You don't have to decide like once and decide for the rest of your life. The other tool that I think is important is meditation. So let what needs to drop in, get quiet, make space for just you, and spend that time with just you and see what feels good, right? What feels right in your body as you explore it through meditation. And the sixth thing that I wanted to mention was allowing yourself to want what you want. Y'all, this is huge. What is it that you're afraid of? What is it that you're afraid to admit to yourself that you want? What's something you think you could never have that really intrigues you? I'm going to say that again. What is it that I'm afraid to admit to myself that I want? What's something I think I could never have that intrigues me? Many of my Bravehearts that I work with have a really hard time just letting themselves want what they want. I just coached someone on realizing that they want to be married. They want to have kids and a family. And she said it so fast and so casually that she just sped through it and talked about, different things. She just sped through it so quickly. And I had to have her come back to it and rewind and be like, can we just sit with realizing and becoming aware of the fact you know what you want? That is an authentic desire to you. You authentically desire to be married, to have kids, and to build a family. And when you can sit with that realization and know that it's true for you and feel it in your bones and feel that authenticity, your decisions will become so much clearer. If that is truly what you want, right? It becomes so much clearer in terms of your decision making. Now, here's the thing. There's so many flavors of life. Can we honestly just take a moment and realize that there are so many experiences we can have? And this is what my Braveheart was struggling with. She had built a badass relationship with herself. She's in this phase where she can go to the places that she was avoiding back in February because of her ex. And now that she's finally exploring her bigger and better life, she's realizing she likes the idea of kind of two different places. And she sees those two places as having very different lives or lifestyles. And there's truth to that and there's not truth to that, right? We can make whatever lifestyle we want in whatever location for sure. And there's truth in that some places come with certain lifestyles conditioned into them. So you're going to have more thought work in one area than the other and all of that. But the first thing you have to do, this sounds so crazy, my friends. The first thing you have to do is not take this so seriously. It's so easy to make it into this really big serious thing. And I know this because I've done it. I'm like, which path do I have to choose? I feel like I have to choose right now. And I feel like I need to make the right one, right? The moment you make it a serious thing, pressure will consume you. It's like a pressure cooker, right? Because your brain is saying, there's a right answer here. Don't make the wrong choice. If I mess this up, I could ruin my whole life. Don't fuck this up. When in reality, all you're doing is choosing the next ice cream flavor you want to try. Literally envision yourself at the ice cream store. We're choosing an ice cream just to try on. Do I want to try and settle down in that kind of lifestyle? Do I want to try on the city lifestyle? Do I want to be city and single? Do I want to try out homesteading? There's so many different things. Here's the thing. You're not making this decision blindly. Let's be clear. There is the inner voice. Listen to your inner voice. You are being nudged in a direction. I know you are. And you just get to listen to that and you get to honor that and you get to use your authority. If you're a human design lover, use your authority within human design to make that decision. Mine is self-projected, which means I need to talk it out. And when it's the wrong decision, I notice it's difficult to get the words out. It's heavy, it's raspy. And then my brain goes into justifying why we should do something instead of just knowing in my bones, like, this is what's next. You know, those decisions, those feel good. When you just know it in your bones, you know, this is what's next. And let me be clear, even if this is a big decision, like there are decisions in your life that are decisions that last longer. Like, for example, kids. If this is a big decision, telling yourself it's a big decision and that you can't fuck it up doesn't help the situation. Anytime you're making a decision from pressure, it doesn't go well, and it doesn't feel good. I also love to look at best case scenario. My friends, this is one of my favorite things. If the best case scenario moving to place X is this, and my best case scenario moving to place Y is this, then what? And usually that makes the decision more clear for me, and it makes it way more fun to decide because you're making a decision based off of two options you love, rather than I'm worried about this happening in place X and I'm worried about this at place Y. And then you're making a decision between two things that are not fun, that are worrisome, that like you don't want either option at that point, right? So here's the thing. I've just genuinely decided I'm going to live a million lifetimes in one, and I'm going to use up my life as much as I can. I welcome on the new experiences, bring them, because every time this happens, there's like almost like a cycle. I feel resistance, I fight it, I release it, and then it's better than I could have ever even imagined and leads to the next biggest, most epic thing. So instead of doing the whole like fight part, now I just try my best to just get the fuck on board with whatever my reality is, knowing there is a plan in the background, that it is so much better than whatever it is my mind is trying to map out and plan. My mind knows so little. It knows, I guess it knows a lot, right? The mind is a beautiful tool. Brain is awesome, but it's just so tiny. It's like this tiny little starseed in comparison to the ocean of knowledge that the universe and my inner alien, my inner being knows. So I've chosen to listen to that more often than I listen to the mind's stories that are, more often than not scary and pressure filled. So instead of being like, I need to pick one life path right now, how do I pick one? I really want you to make it in a different way, because that's, if that's the way we're making decisions of like, this is one life path and we need to choose one right now, it's really difficult. It's pressure filled. It doesn't feel good, right? I've done this before because that's the way I felt. Like I really used to make decisions from that place. Like, okay, I'm going to choose to live in this small town and be a housewife. And then I was like, nope, I'm going to choose the city life. And then nope. And I just began to realize each of these lives doesn't last that long. Each phase or lifetime has been about 4 to 7 years of my life. And now, of course, when I have kids, that will be a whole new lifetime, and that one will hopefully, last longer. But also, moms are reinventing themselves multiple times within motherhood. I see it in my clients. I see my clients do it all the time, and that is a lifetime. So allow yourself to see these flavors as experiences and these different paths as flavors and experiences. I don't have to make a choice that lasts the rest of my life. I'm not choosing a path I stay on forever. I'm choosing the experience and the flavor that I want to try on for right now. What feels like what's next, not what feels like what's forever. Notice the difference there? What's next versus what's forever. It's an energetic difference. It feels different. What flavor am I going to try on next? And then take next steps towards that. And here's the thing. There are no right or wrong paths. You can't do this wrong. You're the only one living your life, so if someone wants to hate on your life, it shouldn't be you. Choose the path that seems right to you no matter what other people think of it, and perhaps that life that you want to try on looks really different from those around you. And so of course that's scary to the people watching you do it, or else maybe they'd already be living it, right? But just because they're scared doesn't have to make you scared. And even if you are scared, do it anyways. And listen, your path might feel big and bold, and that feels right to you, and that's awesome. But also if your path feels subtle, let that be awesome too. Let that be yours as well. But ultimately, my brave hearts, my biggest motto is, now is not the time to give up on your bigger and better life. Now is not the time to give up on something that is an authentic desire to you, whether that is the life you had envisioned, maybe you had, or you envisioned with your ex or not. It's not time to give up. It's time to double down and go after it. It's available to you regardless of who's in or not in your life. And build your epic, amazing Sunday. And then your partner can be the cherry on top of that amazing, epic life of yours. And to be clear, you're not building this alone. You're not building it alone. You're building it in a way where no one can take it away from you, like your ex did. So you can do that in partnership with someone else. You will find someone who wants those same things, no matter how crazy your life path may seem to you right now. There are others doing it. Or if there's no one else doing it, there are going to be people who want to do it once they see you doing it. This reminds me of breakup coaching. I started breakup coaching. Now there are actually more breakup coaches. What? It's amazing. So Bravehearts, if you're struggling with this whole which life path do I live right now dilemma, step 1, check in on that relationship you have with yourself. Step 2, explore and collect data around what kind of life you authentically desire. Step 3, pick a flavor, pick an experience, not from pressure of it has to be forever, but from a place of what's the next experience I want to have right now? What's the flavor I want to try on next? And choose from your best case scenario using your inner voice, the nudges you're experiencing, while letting others have whatever opinions they have while not taking them on as your own. All right, my brave hearts, that's all I have for you today. I love you all so much. I hope you're having an amazing week, and I will talk to you next time. If you're loving the How to Get Over Your Ex podcast and you'd like to learn how to fast forward getting over your ex without spending months or years feeling angry, jealous, or unlovable, I would love to personally invite you to participate in our free on-demand video training, where we share 3 mind-blowing moments that will forever change your experience with your breakup or divorce. Come check it out at breakupcoachdorothy.com.